Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Sean here. Sorry, I'm going to talk a little softer this video because my kid is sleeping upstairs. So hopefully I can get to the end of this video before he wakes up. But I wanted to do a quick video about Bitcoin because I had a pretty crazy week this week. And other than talking about it through like ETFs, we don't really talk about crypto on this channel. I've got some small amounts invested in Bitcoin through ETFs, and I've been looking at those and tracking how they have been doing, and they've been matching the volatility that Bitcoin has exhibited this week. But chances are, if you're watching this channel, you do have a little bit of crypto in your account. So I just wanted to talk about it quickly and kind of explain what maybe happened this week and what can we expect in the future. But before I get into it, a question for you guys. Let me know in the comments, do you have cryptocurrency as part of your portfolio? And if you do, let me know what. If you're interested in talking about crypto on this channel, let me know in the comments, and maybe that can start a conversation. So in case you didn't hear, what happened with Bitcoin this week? Well, after being at its high of over $60,000 US about a month ago, it's had a little bit of volatility, come down a little bit, but in the middle of this week on Wednesday, it actually dipped to $30,000 US, which is quite a decline for any currency or any stock really. It's since climbed back up, but it did dip very sharply and come back up in the middle of this week. Now, if you go online, you kind of read some articles, there's some theories as to what might have affected the price of Bitcoin. As we know, it's very, very sensitive to all sorts of influences, but I'm going to go over three. The first one is an announcement from JP Morgan that just kind of said a lot of its institutional investors had been switching out of cryptocurrency, out of Bitcoin, and going to more traditional commodities like a little bit oil and gas, but mostly gold, switching from Bitcoin to gold, which is really weird because in January, JP Morgan had actually said the opposite, that a lot of people were treating Bitcoin as the new gold and they were seeing an influx of investments coming into Bitcoin. So I don't know if maybe the institutions didn't want to miss the boat. They got in on this investment, but maybe they can't really stomach or don't really like the volatility or the ups and downs. Maybe the fact that it was coming down for the last month didn't really sit well with them, so they're kind of slowly unloading there. Now, the second, maybe more interesting thing you've probably already heard is about Elon Musk. And Elon Musk, again, a few months ago, had announced that they're going to start accepting Bitcoin as payment for Tesla vehicles. He's the CEO of Tesla. Well, last week he actually reneged on that and said they're no longer going to be accepting Bitcoin anymore. And just like when he announced they were, the price had gone up for Bitcoin, and when he said that, again, it kind of took some wind out of the sails for Bitcoin. The reason he did this, he's saying, is because it uses too much energy essentially to mine this stuff. And so he stopped doing it out of concern for the environment. I'm not so clear on this. I mean, a lot of Bitcoin is mined in China. I'm not sure what sources of energy, typical people or companies use there. Maybe it's coal-fired, and Elon doesn't like that. He said that he is now looking into different types of cryptocurrencies, perhaps greener types of cryptos. I don't know if that means that's just things that take less energy to mine or are being mined in areas that use greener types of energy. I'm not sure. So I'm not really, something was kind of odd in the fact that he sort of, I guess, changed his mind on this. But don't get me wrong, like, Elon is still a huge nerd, so he probably really loves the idea of decentralized currency. And so he's holding on to the $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin that Tesla owns. He has explicitly said he's not dumping that, but they are looking at alternatives in different cryptos for people to be able to come and buy Teslas with. So we'll kind of wait and see on that one. But anyway, did affect the price a little bit. Now, I did mention China, and China is actually the third reason you're going to hear about, maybe the most probable, in why the price of Bitcoin had that dip this week. They came out on Wednesday and again on Friday saying that they're going to be rolling out tougher restrictions to curb the amount of mining that is being done on Bitcoin. Now, about 2/3 of mining for that coin is actually coming out of China. And although China actually put restrictions on this type of activity in 2013, it sounds like they're doing it again, but this time a little more broad and farther reaching restrictions, actually saying that, companies cannot use Bitcoin to do their transactions. And they're saying they're doing this because it's a virtual currency and there's uncertainty, and they want to curb this bubble that's kind of happening with Bitcoin. But there's more to it than that, I think. They've also been trying to roll out their own type of digital currency, like a digital yuan. yuan. I think that's how you say it, yuan, a digital version of their own type of currency. So it's basically the exact opposite of Bitcoin. Instead of being a totally decentralized type of currency, not controlled by any government, you have a specific currency, digital, controlled by the government. So it allows people access to their, to their funds, their currencies directly to their bank through, a digital platform like their phone. So of course China wants to roll this out. They're not going to want Bitcoin competing in a space that they're trying to take control over. So I kind of see why the timing of this is kind of convenient for them, right? Now, question is this the end of Bitcoin? I mean, China is one of the most advanced countries when it comes to this type of digital adoption, and if they're gonna say no to Bitcoin, is that the end of it, nail in the coffin? Now, there's a reason why I don't think this is the end, and it's because there's a little bit of a pattern that can be seen in Bitcoin. Bitcoin has this feature called halving, where after a certain amount of Bitcoin is mined, the reward that a miner gets for verifying a section of the blockchain is cut in half. What happens then is the incentive to continue to mine is reduced, which slows the amount of Bitcoin being mined and reduces the supply, therefore increasing the demand and increasing the price. And if you look at the history of Bitcoin, every time halving is achieved, a few months later, 3 to 6 months later, there's a spike in the price of Bitcoin. So if you go back to July of 2017, that was the second time Bitcoin was halved. A few months after that, near the end of 2017, it actually spikes to around $20,000. But then there's some volatility and it slowly drops down and kind of settles around $3,500, $4,000 per coin. The next halving event was actually in May 2020, and sure enough, about 10 months or so, or 8 months after that, we're starting to see these big spikes. It peaks to $60,000. So now what might be happening is we're coming off that peak, we're seeing that volatility, and the price of Bitcoin should settle. The bank actually values the price of Bitcoin to be around $35,000 USD, and if it follows the same kind of pattern, we could see it go and settle anywhere between the $20,000 to $30,000 mark. It's kind of very similar to what the bank values it at. Now, of course, a lot of these outside influences are maybe letting us hit this peak early, or maybe we're not at the peak. Maybe it'll totally reverse and hit a new high. But there's certainly this pattern of volatility following halving a few months later, and it kind of depends what's going on in the world as well. But I don't think Bitcoin is going to go to zero. I don't think it's going to disappear. If you have this as part of your portfolio, even JP Morgan still believes that eventually the price of this could rocket to $140,000 per coin. But that's going to be far out into the future, and you should put this and buy an amount of it that will let you stomach some of this volatility. So that's why it's such a small piece of my portfolio, is because I don't want it to dictate all my investment decisions, and I just want it to be there to just have a piece of the action and capitalize on it when it does do really well. So I definitely would put it in, portfolios that I plan on holding for multiple years, and when the price does come down, if you see it come down to 20,000 or drop to 30,000 like it did this week, it would be a great buying opportunity for long-term investors. All right, so here are the takeaways. So there's a lot of info and noise about Bitcoin, which makes it one of the most exciting and also frustrating types of investments. I do believe, however, it's here to stay, and it does have a legitimate place in society as there are people who would really like a decentralized currency and would find it very useful. There's a lot to like about not having to get a government's permission or a company's permission to access your money. So I do think Bitcoin and Ethereum, like those big types of cryptos, are going to stick around. Now, the reason for all this volatility is there's a lot of first-time and younger investors in this space. It's not 100% clear what the value of it is. Like, you can't buy or use it at retail stores everywhere in order to purchase things. So people place a value on currency that way, and it's still uncertain. Therefore, it gets easily influenced by Elon Musk tweets and news headlines. So you have to be able to put it somewhere where you can stomach that sort of volatility. In the end, Bitcoin is a new asset class, guys. So the fact that it's still establishing itself, like I said, easily influenced by outside sources and contributing to volatility, volatility. Investors are still really figuring this out. Even experienced investors don't fully understand where this is going to go. But I honestly feel that you're okay to hold on to this asset class if you have some. If you have the money to buy more as a long-term investor and the price goes down, you shouldn't be afraid to buy into it if you really feel it's going to stick around. So that's all I have, guys. But finally, let me know, what do you guys think of crypto in general? Would you like to talk about it more on this channel? Do you think it's legit or not so much? And if you do have it, is it like a small portion of your portfolio, most of it? Just curious what you guys do with it. But until next time, guys, have a great week. Spread the wealth. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.